Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fantastic round of the Spider-Man Hey, What a Race tournament. Today, we have a special lineup of Spyrin versus Nilo. Today, we have our top runner just overall versus our top PC runner who has quickly risen through the ranks in the PlayStation emulator category just because he decided to turn up in that category. So this ought to be a really nice race. Let's take a look at these stats here real quick. So Spyron, of course, running emulator. He's got one of the best race times with a 29:42, seed number 2 in this tournament. He has run a total of 8 PlayStation categories and 11 categories overall because he's been branching into uh some of the other consoles and different versions of the game that he can, and he's been sweeping it ever since. He's got a total of 9. Hear that again, 9 2K world records uh under his belt. And his favorite level somehow is tunnel crawl. I think it's because it's where boys become men when it comes to this particular speed run. Now over to Nilo. Nilo, for the purposes of this tournament, is running on emulator. He is originally a PC speedrunner. He's got a best race time of 29:27, which is, to note, a little bit faster than Spyrin, making this probably a pretty exciting match to sit in on. Seed number 4, uh, running a total of 11 categories himself, with only 3 in PlayStation because most of his categories are on PC. He's got a total of 4 world records, most of them being on the PC, and his favorite level is the Waterfront Warehouse, which is another difficult one for a lot of our runners. Just a quick note here, Spyron has mentioned many times before that Nilo is definitely a dark horse for this tournament, and I'm inclined to believe him. He has shown up and shown out for this tournament, sweeping victory after victory after victory, bringing him to this part of the tournament when we are so close to the end. It's honestly really exciting. So let's go ahead and head to our 2 runners here. Looks like Spyron is ready, getting ready with the load data, game data screen. Nilo on a slightly weird emulator screen. I'm just going to double check to make sure that they are set to go. Both of these runners absolutely primed for this run. It looks like we're both ready. So, without much further ado, because I have no co-commentary to join me in this for the moment, we'll go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1, go. And I apologize for the channel points here. It looks like we didn't set that up. Perfectly fine, though. We don't need it this time. Let's let everyone go ahead and stock up their points for maybe the next match. Both of our runners getting a good start, I would say. Spyron just slightly ahead, I believe, just because he started a little bit sooner. So, once again, I'll have to reiterate that we want to pay attention to their timers, not necessarily where they stand screen to screen. Spyron already through Get to the Bank, heading on to the second level. Nilo doing the same, coming right up.
Cat was right.
And let's see it.
Jade Syndicate.
Very close overall. Spyron with an unclean web dome. That's going to cost him just a little bit of time uh with that second web ball having to hunt down that particular goon. Looks like Nilo had a little bit of a better luck with that.
Well, I hope they don't mind if I make a quick deposit.
And now we move on to hostage situation. Spyron with a good setup, good start to hostage situation, getting through the wall on one of his first tries. Moving on to hostages. Nilo, another first try out the gate. Both of these guys masters of their craft when it comes to this speed run. And so we see Spyro wrapping things up with the
Well, it's
hostages
going
safe,
down.
Nilo coming in close behind with it. A little bit of a sloppy, got hit by a Denny on the way there. But he's going to get through no problem. Straight to uh, stop the bomb.
Mind if I drop in? Uh-oh.
Byron getting ready for his bomb disposal.
The robbers have been taken care of, but what can I do about the
Coming in
bomb?
hot.
What
Nilo
does Spidey think?
onto his bomb disposal. Let's see if he can get through a little bit quicker. These two are pretty much neck and neck with their time. They're both having a pretty good go of it as far as their disposal goes. Spyron with a 140 on his bomb, a very respectable time. Not the
Not
fastest,
this
but
time,
definitely
pal.
faster than some of the members of our community, that's for sure. Not naming names myself. A 141 for Nilo, slightly quicker, and that'll give him a little bit of extra time that he needs to catch up with Spyron. And we'll soon see how kind our first hurdle, our first major hurdle for our runners is going to be. Because both of our runners, shortly after this level of Get to the Bugle, are going to be facing up against Scorpion. We'll have to see if Jameson is brave or a coward and how quickly he runs away. Spyron with some great movements, getting across the skyscrapers, getting to the end of the level. Nilo not very far behind in that regard. Very smooth movement from both of these guys. Oh, and it looks like Spyron got hit by another Denny on the way. We've got two Denny's. Let's keep track there. That is a 2 count on Denny's. Leading through this speed run. Now, Spyron going on to the Scorpion fight. That's 1 combo. That's 2 combo. That's 3 combos. And Jameson blocked by Scorpion. And that is going to give a nice 1 cycle Scorpion, so to speak. And Nilo gets the 1 cycle Scorpion as well. Getting a bit lucky there for both of them. Still going to keep them in pretty much the same spot.
I'm not the bad guy.
This is exciting. Very little going wrong aside from just some random chance here and there,
That was
placing
close.
them both at pretty much the same spot. Spyron getting a little bit of inefficient movement, and that little bit of inefficient movement could be just what Nilo needs to catch up. But I believe our next major decider is going to be coming up here in the next couple of levels once we get to scale the girders. But let's just take a moment and admire this fantastic, efficient movement from both of our runners. Two runners that have played this game so many times, and in Nilo's case, have figured out so much about this game that a lot of this comes second nature. Spyron optimizing his movement a little bit with even a semi-auto scroller such as this by web zipping to the top of the ledge and then dropping down the web zip to the edge of the ledge, saving just that little bit of time for crawling. And there he goes. He's off to the next part of the police chase. Police chase, just a major test of how optimized your movement can be. It can sometimes, between two veteran runners, mean the difference between victory and defeat.
Keep moving, Spidey.
Byron nearly getting clipped by that helicopter. Bit of good luck there. Nilo close behind. Getting ready to cut the corner to the girders. Very nice. Great job maintaining his height.
Stay home today.
And these guys make it look so easy, but I assure you that the way the Spider-Man controls is not easy. Do not take for granted how difficult this game can be to maneuver,
Move it up. Enough with the
and
shooting already.
how talented these two are. Spyron getting ready to set up the Spider-Fly. Let's see how he does. His setup looks good. He's in the state, and he is clean and clear. The hardest part of that trick is actually getting into that floating state, especially on the girders level. But he's got it and he's moving on. Nilo, one of the originators of this trick, getting ready to perform the same,
These guys won't let up.
perhaps using his little profile picture to help him line up the shot. He's got it just fine and he is heading to the next level as well. At this point, I believe Spyron's gained a little enough of a lead here in terms of time to just, for the moment, set him up as in the lead. At least for the moment. Spyron heading into the Rhino fight. Getting ready to set up the deceptively difficult trick of the web dome strats. Going in for a hug on Rhino. Hopefully that doesn't mess up the rhythm and make sure that he doesn't get punched by Rhino midway through his web dome attacks. And it looks like that was the case. Commentator's Curse coming in clutch again. But he's taken out
Spider sense too.
Rhino just fine. And Nilo going in with his. Let's see it. Looks like Nilo is going for combo strats in this one.
Move it, Spidey, move it.
But he gets knocked around by Rhino now. But he's going straight back to combos. Perhaps he's trying to conserve his web cartridges for a future level. Although it's hard to tell.
Gotta keep up. Haven't used the Spidey armor.
Spyron going through the Venom chase. Let's see if he ends up being a little too quick for Venom.
Come on, Parker.
Waiting patiently for Venom to hit a certain threshold before making a couple hops and getting through just fine. We're looking clean and clear on that. Nilo getting ready to hit the same point here shortly.
Watch that first step, Parker.
I'd say just about
Oh, toe, toe,
10
toe,
or so
ow.
seconds behind by my estimation.
Toe, toe, ow.
Look out, lady.
Grabbing the Spidey armor, setting up the first chase trigger,
Oh, sorry, lady. Didn't see a thing.
going very fast for Venom, but still having to wait to make sure that Venom crosses the threshold a little quick. Let's see it. And he's got it. We're safe there. Spyron getting ready
Can't lose
to
him.
round off his second half of this run. Having to be careful not to go too fast on this side of the level as well. Because if he crawls up a bit too quickly, he could lose Venom and soft lock the level. But it looks like we're safe here as he gets ready to move on to the first Venom fight. Now, I think it's important to keep note here, it looks like neither of our runners have activated cutscene skip. You can tell by the lack of the pre-crashed texture on the side of the building during that cutscene. That's one of our earliest indications that cutscene skip has been activated. So it looks like both of our racers are going to be racing fairly in this race, as far as we can tell. Spyron already done with Venom, getting an interesting mid-phase animation on him, which was very interesting. But now moving on to the sewer entrance. Nilo getting ready for his first Venom fight.
Those things.
Getting a pretty average first spawn.
Looks like the only way across the cavern is
A
through
nice
those pipes.
first combo on him. Byron having a little bit of trouble with those pipes, but manages to go through.
Trap.
And Nilo is all finished with Venom, getting a good last spawn on him to get that last extra cartridge very handily. Nilo getting ready to go through his sewer entrance now. Let's hope we don't have any close calls with Nilo in that case. And now Spyron getting ready to get set with the God Pipes, if possible. See Nilo taking fairly a fairly safe route through these pipes, except for that last one.
Probably swing to
A
the
little
next
dodgy
pipe
there,
using
but
my
he's got it
F1
just
targeting
fine.
mode.
Byron, let's see those pipes. And Spyron's got good pipe. He's got those god pipes down. Not and Nilo heading into his god pipes. Let's see how he does. Byron heading into the subway. I wonder if he has any sort of bits lined up.
Hang on, Parker. Mary Jane's in a
I
mess.
wouldn't be surprised if Nilo decides to, or I'm sorry, if Spyron decides uh, to skip out on the bits this time, just because of the sheer nerve-wracking challenge of this race. Especially when you can see that Nilo has some great god pipes as well. Fantastic. Give it up for our two runners here getting fantastic god pipes in both of their levels. And now we get to take a little bit of a break here. And it looks like Spyron is going to be playing a little bit of Slay the Spire.
Already at full health.
Or, I guess in this case, Slay the Spyron. Let's see how well he gets through this before he needs to get back in the game. Nilo sitting fancy, sitting pretty, and relaxed. This is a great moment for our runners to catch their breath, as you can clearly see on Spyron's side, and allows us to sort of recharge, reset, and get ready for the next portion. And I think this is a great time to remind all of our viewers here to hydrate if you haven't yet. I think I'll do so now.
How many of them are there?
Mary Jane's at the
Byron
next
blazing
stop,
through these
so
battles here in Slay the Spire. I don't know much about it. I'm not much of a deck building game guy myself. I've tried Inscription. It's neat, but it's also just not my thing, unfortunately. But good on Spyron. Looks like he's had enough of Slay the Spire for now. Getting focused up to make sure that he's ready to take out the lizards at the end of this subway. Looking good. Nilo's not going to be too far behind in that. Probably another
Spider-Man.
10 or 15 seconds until he's ready with his. And that, I believe, is the last lizard for Spyron, and it looks like he's going to be getting a frame-perfect subway, just barely going under his usual time for the subway, according to his live split.
Where am I now? Venom is gonna pay big time.
Moving on, let's see how Spyron handles this gate here, having a little bit of a rough time swinging through the environment. But not to worry, because he is ready for this. Nilo wrapping up his train, looking pretty good on the early exit, and that is true. He got Super Train in this one. Spyron having a little bit of trouble with these lizards, having to take them out. Unfortunately, that could be the time save that Nilo needs to help catch up. Luckily, managing to time his zip against the lizards. Lizards being surprisingly unkind to our racers in the last little bit. Nilo will need to be quick in setting up his zip if he doesn't want the lizards to get him as well. And he looks like he's through. Spyron getting ready for the hidden switches. Getting a little goofy with it, but that works just fine. And both of our Spider-Man did not skip leg day. We are looking good there. And now, Spyron's favorite level, Tunnel Crawl, which is likely to be
Time this right.
where we'll see the greatest time difference between these two if one of them manages to fall in the water.
Move it, Spidey, move it.
Nilo taking the lesser used left side strat for hidden switches to get himself into tunnel crawl.
Gotta keep moving.
Spyron getting some fairly good zips here. On the second half, he's got enough time so he can crawl up and he'll be just fine. Nilo close behind. Not getting such great zips on the first half, but we'll see how he handles the second half. He may run out of time before he's able to get through the second half, but he needs to try if he's going to be catching up with Spyron. Spyron failing Spiderfly on the first outing through, but looks like he's set up just fine for it this time. And he's through. Nilo needing to catch up with his own Spiderfly. But since he helped create the strat, he should know exactly what he needs to do. But he fails that first Spiderfly attempt. Spyron going for Fetty Fall, having to line up those web zips. Just a couple of great tricks done both at the same time. It's so hard to commentate on both. Great job by Spyron with the Fetty Fall. It is hard to line yourself up with that particular tunnel, especially if you're not too keen on using L1 strats, because you can hardly see the tunnel ahead of you. It is so incredible to watch these two get through these levels. Spyron dropping in Lizard Maze. This is giving Nilo exactly the edge he needs to catch up. That is incredible. I always forget what a silent killer Lizard Maze can be if you're not careful with your zips. Spyron went absolutely crazy with those zips, and I'm afraid he paid the price for it. But he is back in no time at all, and right on Nilo's heels despite the death. Absolutely incredible stuff. Both of them practically at the same point. I am going to switch things around because we are pretty much at a tie here at the moment. Although Nilo technically getting into the Venom fight with a lower time on his timer, putting him technically ahead, but I think it's still too soon to tell. Getting a great first spawn on Nilo's side, Spyron getting a middling spawn, so to speak, and a great second spawn. Nilo, bad second spawn on the side, getting swiped by Venom, but getting a few extra hits in. Crazy, crazy stuff. That is Spyron, done with the Venom fight. Venom being unusually unkind to Nilo, but Nilo takes him out nonetheless. And that is going to put Spyron ever so slightly ahead, though I'm not going to switch the leads up just yet. Because next up, both of our runners have to manage the Symbiotes Infest Bugle Skip. If either one of them fails their respective skips, it could mean time lost.
You guys aren't ugly enough to be.
Looks like Spyron is through Symbiotes Infest Bugle, heading onto Elevator Descent, and Nilo is looking to do the same. Let's see Spyron work it. 1, 2. And he goes for the swag strats, a slightly faster method of dropping to the third floor and hitting the lamp on the way down. And that's going to get him just ever so much ahead. More swag strats from Spyron as he attempts the early out of bounds on stopping the presses. Now he's struggling a little bit. This is going to give Nilo the chance he needs to catch up. And Spyron is underneath, deloading the level. Putting him exactly where he needs to get through the level. Nilo not too far behind with the usual strats. But this is incredible stuff. And he's through. Now we have Bugle Basement. Another Hard strat to hit first try. Spyron manages to snap back before the door gets through, but he swings back into bounds. He's going to need to try for the backup if he's going to try to keep this level fast. And he's having a little bit of trouble, and it looks like he's going for the no skips route. Nothing wrong with that. It's all a matter of what you need. Nilo getting through with the skips just fine and heading into Mysterio. I think this is enough of a lead to give Nilo the actual lead here for the moment. Symbiote's being absolutely unkind to Spyron, but I'm glad that we were able to say hi to Mike at least one more time in this tournament. He doesn't get enough love from us. And so we got to say hi. Spyron moving on to the Mysterio fight, having to push through this unskippable cutscene. And by the time he goes in, Nilo is about to go out.
I gotta say,
Absolutely wild stuff with this. Bugle Basement can be such an unforgiving level. And then with Mysterio, you better hope you have enough web cartridges to take him out. Otherwise, you'll be taking a long trip around Nilo through his Mysterio. Getting ready for Waterfront Warehouse, his self-proclaimed favorite level. Let's see how quickly he can get through. He is out of bounds just fine, but I think he falls early and he has to restart the level. Oh my days.
right now you're thinking,
This is going to put them on fairly equal footing. If Spyron can nail this trick first try, I'm going to leave it as it is. Nilo pushing himself back inbounds, having to throw himself back out of bounds, and set up the trick. Byron, a little out of bounds there, having to get back where he needs to be. Nilo hitting that level trigger almost barely, it would seems. And heading on to the underwater trench. Spyron missing the level trigger in Waterfront Warehouse. That is a massive time loss for Spyron. I can't believe it. Absolutely incredible, but Spyron not deterred at all. Going for it a second time. Let's see the lineup. And he's got it. So now he is on the Underwater Trench. Nilo going through Underwater Trench with hardly any problems at all, and with 7 web cartridges. That is going to be more than enough to take him through the rest of the game. Especially if he doesn't get the 1 cycle lock.
hey, you could put someone's eye out with that.
I can't believe how this race has gone back and forth and back and forth. Again and again. A few unfortunate misses on Spyron's side, and very few of such on Nilo's, and yet the two are surprisingly close for what has happened. Lasers being unkind to Spyron, who's sitting at 4 web cartridges, which is not too bad for this point of the game. Nilo setting things up for the stable cutscene skip for stopping the fog, the one that does not activate cutscene skip for a subsequent run.
We have
Now wrapping things up, having to sit through a long cutscene with Black Cat, who's off to get help, while Spider-Man deals with the menace ahead. Spyron setting things up
direction.
ever so precisely,
Almost.
and managing to get that cutscene skip and the version that sets off the cutscene skip for subsequent runs.
Thanks.
Spyron showing that nerves are starting to get to him. Let's see how this carries him through the Doc Ock fight.
Find out who's behind all this.
You got it. I'll be back.
Nilo taking on that Doc Ock fight, getting through the first shield generator, and waiting on the remaining 3. We have just a little bit of time until we see whether or not Nilo can step up to the challenge of that first cycle lock.
You will never get past my barrier, Spider-Man.
He's right. I need to find some way to draw power away from his shield. Yes. his
And
shield
that
is
first
more
cycle
powerful
lock
than his.
is
Still need to draw more power.
way more difficult than you would believe. A very precise set of instructions, and Nilo gets it! Nilo gets that first cycle lock! And he is moving on to Carnage. Now let's see if Spyron can do the same.
One more should do
He'll
it.
need to if he's going to catch up with Nilo. Nilo going in the Carnage, setting him up in the bubble, and going for the new Carnage strat, which is 2 web balls and a web yank and a slight pause.
Looks like his shield is regenerated.
Byron just barely missing the 1 cycle lock, even managing to stay inside the cone or the cylinder shield that keeps Doc Ock safe. But whether you're in that shield or not, you are not hurting Doc Ock once it goes back up. So unfortunately, Spyron is going to have to take that second cycle, which is going to put him about 40 seconds behind. Nilo already done with Carnage, heading into Monster Rock at a fairly good pace as well. And we can see that this is an absolute upset for some of our viewers here who were really rooting for Spyron to get that first cycle lock, but the show's not over yet. Despite the fact that we're basically at the finale, there's still a chance for the game itself to be unkind to Nilo. But we'll just have to hope that doesn't happen. Spyron going for traditional strats with Carnage. Taking care of him quite handily. You can stun lock Carnage as long as you have enough web cartridges to use the web balls necessary to hold him in place in the sonic bubble. A strat I'm sure a lot of us when we were younger managed to find out and employ on him. And that is going to take care of Carnage for him. That's going to bring Spyron to Monster Rock himself. And we'll have to see. It's not a foregone conclusion just yet, but it is looking good for Nilo to take this race by a not insignificant margin. But the fact that both of these runners have managed to get to the Monster Rock race at the end around the same time that we can see them both on our screens is honestly a testament to how well matched these two runners are, especially when we consider that that Spyron had a couple of unfortunate deaths. And that is time for Nilo, a 30-09 for him. Great job with Nilo. Spyron wrapping things up on his end. Just need to get through a bit more of this level. Send good vibes to Spyron so that he can also get through this level unscathed.
Level 3. 2 more to go.
Nilo proudly showing off that he didn't get a single comic in this entire run. Congrats to him for maintaining such discipline as to not grab a single comic during his run. Congratulations, Nilo. Byron going past the second and last comic of this level, which means he is just about done with this level. All we're looking at is just one more turn into the dark hallway, which again is only determined by when Monster Rock can hit it, and that is Spyron done with a 31-33. Fantastic work from both of our runners. Let's go ahead and bring them into the caster's channel to see where their minds are at now that this race is complete. Welcome, welcome, guys.
Well, hello. Hello.
It's a good
Hello.
Black Cat gave me a call, son.
Guys, great race. Nilo, I don't know if you were keeping track of the stream, but you probably see it now. Congratulations on your win
Thanks.
against Byron. Very well done, both of you. That's for sure. Let's go ahead and get some initial impressions. Spyron, what are your initial impressions now that you've just finished the race?
Oh, gutted. This was going really well, and then what went wrong first? We died in the lizard maze, and I was like, oh no, okay, well, at least lizard maze, I can like slightly pull it back. I was like, okay, that's not too bad. And then it all went fine. And then we got to, what was it next? Bugle Basement. Oh, I can't believe we swung in bounds on Bugle Basement. I haven't done that in so long. And then I went for the backup, and then I thought, no, screw it, I can't do the I know how to do the backup, but I saw that symbiote chasing behind me. I thought, oh, I just can't, but I'm just going to go. I'm going to have to try and rush the no-skips route. So that was a suck. That sucked, obviously. And then we didn't even get the cut skip scene bit at the end. And then Waterfront Warehouse, I can't believe I didn't nail the jump first time either. I was like, and then we didn't even one-cycle Dr. Octopus. And at that point, I thought, well.
It was very close,
It was a good
too.
try, yeah. Good try. So
Yep.
gutted overall, but still pretty happy, I think. I couldn't have lost, I think, to a better potential opponent here, so GG's to Nilo, did very well, I'm assuming, then most of the way through.
I would not feel too bad about that lizard maze, because even though you died on that maze, you recovered so quickly that you and Nilo were basically in parallel when you got to the Venom fight. And it was a little bit of bad luck on Nilo's part that we got a few side spawns with his Venom run, which brings us over to Nilo real quick. Nilo, what are some of your first thoughts about this race?
Well, for sure, I'm very happy to have won this. When I failed Waterfront, I said, okay, I lost this, because I wasn't watching the stream. So for me, it was a surprise when I finished the run and I clicked on the stream to watch, and I saw that the Spider-Man didn't finish yet. So speaking of Venom 2, since you were talking about that, yeah, I got a really bad spawn, bad side spawn, but then I got very lucky that I was still able to defeat Venom in a 3 cycle. That was something I was not expecting, because I maybe like hit him with a kick, with a more kick than usual, and for some reason I was able to finish in 3 cycles. So
Indeed, that was a fantastic boss fight in that regard. Any other sort of prominent moments that stick with either of you when it comes to this race in particular?
Oh, prominent moments. No, I guess it's just all the sad stuff in it. Just all the sad things. I guess overall, I mean, everything else apart from those things I mentioned did feel really clean. I didn't feel like there were many really like mistakes in levels. I guess what was it? The sewage entrance level, whatever that's called. I took a few attempts to get through that gate as well, which is a bit annoying, but that's fine. But yeah, otherwise, I think generally movement and things was pretty clean throughout. It's just let me down. I just let myself down in a few areas. So yeah, it's nothing, I guess, too memorable for me particularly, apart from it's just all the bad bits that will haunt me now for the rest of my days.
All right, Nilo, anything else in particular that you want to bring up about your run?
well, as Spyron said, when you finish a run, you basically remember all the bad stuff, basically. So for example, Tunnel Crawl, I wasn't able to get Flying Spidey at the first time, in the first try. So I had to do a second time. Luckily, it worked, but still, like, a time loss that I will remember.
Indeed.
I clearly noticed that.
Indeed. And
Waterfront, because
Waterfront went weird, didn't it?
I clipped, and then I jumped over to go to the floor, the more wide floor where you have to jump to get to the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And I jumped to a specific angle that usually is perfect for doing this wag strat, but I jumped too much on the right, so I fell too soon. And that completely tilted me in the moment.
No,
So for the second time, I had to use the normal strategy. Luckily, I learned that because I didn't know that like 2 weeks ago. So luckily, I learned that because it was useful.
I think it's really nice that this tournament is what's getting a lot of our runners to start expanding their tool sets. You know, just in case certain skips that they're used to don't work, they can get those sort of backups to help their times if need be. And while that may not be as helpful to, you know, two top runners like you two are, you know, in a tournament environment, that's very helpful. And for a lot of our, you know, newer runners, ones that are trying to bring down their times, getting to know and get familiar with those backup strats is probably very helpful. So I'm glad we got to see a bit more of a showcase of those as they came along. So with that, I do want to ask one more thing. Spyron, your Doc Ock fight, you somehow managed to stay within that cylinder shield, and yet you weren't able to deal more damage to Doc Ock. Why do you
Yeah,
think that is?
silly guy. I assume once the shields go up, I guess it just totally shuts off his hitbox. I assume that must be what it is. So even though I'm stood there inside and I can run around kind of next to him, I can't actually deal damage to him, it seems. Yeah, so I assume the hitbox just shuts off as soon as the things go off. The shields go up after like kind of that second or so delay where you can do the web dome before it pushes you out. So yeah, it must just be how the game's designed. Yeah, I guess the hitbox just gets turned off altogether.
Well, I think it's useless to keep it on if there's the barrier, so I think
Yeah,
it's
makes sense.
for optimization purpose, I guess.
So then with that, let's go ahead and we'll wrap it up here with some final thoughts here because Nilo, now that you have won this race, that is going to bring you straight to the top of the tournament to face the head of the losers bracket. Whoever wins that particular bracket uh, are out of everyone who could be at the top there. That's going to be Sodalier, Zojalix, Fetty, and Mr. Monch. Which one of those would you most want to go against? And you know, Spyron could be one of them as well. Which out of those five uh, would you be excited to face again or face against?
At this point, I would say Fetty because it's the only one that I didn't race against along those five. So
That's fair. Keep it, shake it up a little bit, face against someone you haven't faced before. Spyron, same question to you. Who are you hoping to face up against in the top of the losers bracket out of the remaining four people? I think a
Yeah.
lot of our viewers would love to see yet another rematch
Yes, of
between
course.
you and Fetty.
Yeah.
But anyone else in particular that you would be excited to face up?
Yeah, of course. I mean, any of them, to be honest, I think it'd be really exciting. Obviously, Zoe, I've raced before. And I've beat Zoe. I was the one who knocked him down into the lower bracket. So to face Zoe again, potentially, I guess, for redemption for him. But that could be cool. Obviously, Sotalia, along with Nilo, is the only person now I haven't beat in this tournament of all the people I've faced. So it'd be good to get a rematch against Sotalia, potentially try and beat him this time. Fetty, of course, is an obvious answer as well. Like you say, it'd be good to just that third match in, because why not get another one in? And then Monch as well. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've faced off against Monch or not yet. But I don't think I have. So Monch would be a good one as well, just because I haven't raced against Monch yet. So yeah, any of the four I'd be really happy with, to be honest.
Fair enough. So I'm pretty excited to see where this tournament goes with all that in mind. But with that, I think that's about time for us to wrap up. That is our only race for today. So we'll do our usual send off. First of all, shout outs to Crypto for setting up this particular tournament. Really nice of them to be able to set up the brackets and get everyone really invested in this. Shout outs, of course, to Spyron, who is our primary tech for this particular tournament, setting up fantastic macros both on screen and off to make sure that our viewers get the best view as possible. And thank you to our viewers, of course. Thank you for coming in. And with that, I believe we're going ahead and rating Shemp, who is also practicing his Spider-Man run, so dedicated to the craft that
Of
he
course.
decided to skip out on this tournament and decided to practice speed running instead. But thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time, which is the next race is on the next couple of races are on the 22nd at 1600 and 1800 Eastern Standard Time respectively, and we will see you then. Good day and good Spidey.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.